up. Pick up, pick up, pick up. Pick up, YouTube. Pick up. Pick up, pick up. Oh, there you are. Hi there. I'm Himawari Kotetsu. And you're watching whatever the fuck this is. I'm a bouncing little potato guy. I'm a possum. A Gunther. Because I'm not bothering to get my model out today. Hi, everybody. How are you? So, alright, the bouncing little TV guy on our little stand here. So back in the alpha for Half-Life 2, there was a much different version of City 17. It was the Half-Life Alpha, and we got access to the leaks for the Half-Life 2 Alpha due to a young German boy who managed to hack into the passcodes of Gabe Newell, whose password was Gabe N. Gaben was his password. Cause, you know, that's secure. So a little German boy hacked in, and he downloaded all of the data on the Half-Life 2 beta, and then shoved it together and threw it out onto the internet. And in those files was a preview level called Free TVs. And so this model on my plinth, that is the little bouncing TV guy, is one of the citizens of City 17 from the Half-Life 2 beta. That's why there's a song that goes, Gaben, Gaben, to stop a Gaben, Gaben. That's why they call him Gaben, because Gabe Newell set his password to Gabe N. So dumb. Yes, a little German boy, a German child, a very young German man, was able to break into those passcodes because he found an unsecured port that Valve was using to connect in remotely, and he just guessed the password in, like, the lamest attack, and they tried to say it was a terror attack. They tried to say it was a terrorist attack, and they invited the guy to the U.S., They invited him to the U.S. He showed up because they told him that they were willing to offer him a job with Valve, and then the FBI fucking arrested him on criminal terrorism charges. I was like, alright, thank you. Very cool. Very cool, Gabe! Very cool! I think eventually he got let out, but hey, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. Very lovely. So basically, this character is he's one of the citizens, and on the level 3 TVs, a group of citizens who are wearing gas masks and hazmat gear, because in that version of the game, the world is having its oceans drained, and the people of Earth are having to wear gas masks because the air is no longer safe to breathe. And the Combine are slowly consuming all of the planet's resources. So they all dress like this in order to be able to go outside and still breathe. And everybody's got their faces covered, which is a really easy way to not have to worry about animating the majority of characters who are talking to you. Hello, welcome in. And so, this is one of the citizens who steals a TV, and for some reason they gave him an animation of dancing like that. And I used to use the intern model from False ID. If you guys know False ID, he is a Vtuber, not YouTube, a Vtuber drama channel guy, and I was a fairly decent fan of his content. I still am. I think he's a pretty good creator. He gets a little bit too much into the weeds, and I know there's a lot of people who I even personally know who really, really dislike him and his personal politics and how he handles things, but, I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him and his content enough that I decided to go out of my way to, like, use one of the models that he posted up, and it was cool. I was a purple floating TV man, one of the intern models. And so when I no longer decided to use that model because I was getting paranoid about the idea that people... Okay, let me rework here. I'm bad at storytelling. I'm a terrible writer. I have no experience. As you all know, I've never done any writing. So basically, I was using this model for a bit, and things were fine. And things were great. And someone decided to claim that they were an intern with false ID to get into a place that they weren't supposed to do and do some shady shit. And so anybody who was using that fan group name before suddenly had a very bad reputation, and I didn't want to use the model because people kept getting confused and thinking that False ID was sending people into areas they shouldn't be to spy on them to get information for his show. And so I had an entire stream where I sat and we made the model that I wound up using for a long time, which was, you know, the design that this art is based off of, right? This art, by the way, is based off of a model that I did the hair texture, I did the eye texture, I did a lot of this stuff myself because I was wanting to really do a lovely model that would be something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to have like a more harsh face, better angles, things like that. A birthday stream, as it were. Yeah, kind of. So I made the original model that wound up inspiring this art. This is an art by Senabonbon, by the way. And originally, I was going to wind up instead going with flavor, when that was still a thing, but there was some controversy with that as well. As you guys can tell, I very often will have a controversy crop up around something I want to do, and then back off from it because I'm scared. This is part of my nature as something of a coward. So basically, I had created the new model using some wizardry in the software. Yes, I actually intentionally, with that software, went through and I set the parameters to be higher than they were possible to do in the core system, right? And then, after I made the model, I went through and I modified the core model using knowledge I had in Blender. I did some retexturing, I did some re-rigging with the face and whatnot, and we had the 3D model that I would use for a long time that eventually became the basis of my live 2D model that I use to this day. But when I created that new model and swapped off of the old model, I wanted to be able to keep that TV around. So what I did was I recolored the television set in the hands of the free TV guy, myself. I went through and I hand recolored the art by going frame by frame on the original GIF here, and I added the face from my model that I was using, the intern model, onto the face of the television screen. And if you look, there's actually a little animation, and every time the TV reaches the bottom of the apex there, that little, like, when he bounces it down, the television blinks. So it's blinking every time that it moves down, and then it's coming back up. And so that's my little callback to when we used that old model. I was going to make a callback for the slightly newer model, but here's the thing. That slightly newer model was supposed to still be with us because my current Live 2D model is supposed to have that other model as part of it and have a really nice transition animation between the two parts. But, yeah, that's not happening right now. So, I am working in the background to try and get a redo of my art done so that I can get a basically brand new model done. A basically brand new model done. In order to actually get what I had originally wanted. But, hey, no. Juliet November did a fantastic job on the art. Her art was beautiful, right? But she retired before we could finish the whole thing. Which is fine, right? You know, I wasn't paying her nearly as much as she deserved for that. And I had offered to pay more, but I can understand that she was getting very stressed and she was dealing with a lot of things. You know, there's some back-end stuff that was going on. So I lost my artist. And we lost... Well, I still have the rigger around, but I like his work, but I've been trying to find some other folks to work with as well. If I'm honest with you, for the price that he charges, right? Leo is still fantastic. Leo does some amazing work overall. I do highly recommend people work with him. I do. But Leo, the best thing about working with Leo was that Leo knew exactly how to work with his sister, and they were able to do some phenomenal work overall, right? Phenomenal teamwork, right? And, again, I emphasize on teamwork, right? it's kind of sad that that is the case, that when one of them retired, it's kind of like you lose a lot of the appeal when you don't have, like, both of the cohesive unit working together, right? Now, male models in general have been a pain in the ass to do for a long time for VTubers, right? There's a reason people use cute animals, it's because they sell. And the reason they don't use proper-looking male models is because nobody makes proper-looking male models. Most of the people who do rigging, most of the people who even do the top-level rigging, we're talking in the $5,000 to $7,000. The $5,000 to $7,000 range, most of those people also don't do proper male rigging. The rigging itself does not look like a man, right? The rigging itself is oftentimes their female rigging that they've reused for a male model, which is not what you're looking for on a lot of these things, right? PC98 era or Windows era Toho? I grew up on PC98 era Toho. I grew up on Toho 1, 2, and 3 on the original PC98. My father had one for work, and he brought home a floppy disk copy from a meeting. They did some sort of tech summit thing, and some guy was just selling them at the convention, and so he bought that and he brought it home. So PC98 has a special place in my heart. I've been playing on stream a fair bit of the more recent, I say recent. Scarlet is not recent, but it's the first Windows era one. I do really, really, really like 5. I like 5 a lot. I like 4 even better. 4 is phenomenal. 5 is wonderful. 1 is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. It is one of those things where you have these very beautiful, very lovely art pieces inside of the PC98 games. It just gets better and better and better art. And then Windows kind of collapses because it was not ready for the transition to art styles. But, you know, it still worked. With how long Live 2D goes around, I wonder if there's an alternative, or is the concept patented? There are alternatives that you can use, right? Like, I was working with a group back when I was still working on that project that I was working on once upon a time. Give me a second here. I'm going to read that comment there on YouTube real quick. I'm going to pop out these chats. Toho 5 is a fossilized wonder. In a lot of ways, yes. It is very much a fossilized wonder, and it works pretty good for what it is. I do think that I really like the music in 5. I like that it still lets me use my MIDI, because MIDI is amazing. Okay, so there are alternatives. Back in the day when I was working on that other project, we had the combination 2D, 3D model, where you would effectively utilize a 2D semi-inspired by Live 2D head in order to get the appropriate Vtuber look, right? Basically, you'd have a series of floating elements of the actual 2D head, and if you view the model from certain angles, you would only be able to, because you can do culling on a 3D model, right? We were able to layer multiple floating 2D elements so that when you look at it from the side, it is a different art asset for the head than when you look at it from the other side, when you look at it from the back. So we were able to make a 2D head model that appeared to be 3D. And to an extent, that is what Live 2D is kind of doing, moving and twisting layers, changing these things around. At least that's how I understood it before, right? If you combine the 2D and the 3D allows you to make far, far better looking armor, far better looking hands, things like that. More fluid, you're able to get full 3D motion capture, right? But by using the 2D multi-layered heads, you're able to get the hard angles of a proper anime face. The problem with a lot of that stuff is getting the art correct for that style of presentation, which is why I haven't done it. There's a degree of rigging that you have to do with that. There's a degree of very intense animation you have to do. And when you're looking at the model from non-correct angles, it looks completely alien. When you're setting up the actual layering of the effects, it looks completely alien. It requires a very different mindset to be able to operate in that style of a 3D environment. And so that has been kind of shelved for a while. I'm not certain entirely if there are other people who are looking into that, right? but I know it's something that me and a few folks were working on for a while when we were dealing with the whole translation of heart rate data into model effects. I haven't used it because I don't have the heart rate monitor, but if you get a heart rate monitor, the model that I already use, the Live 2D model that I've been using for a while, is one that has full heart rate adjustment. So the glowing on the model is supposed to time in with my real-life heart rate. You're able to get some visual effects that can occur based on heart rate, using it as extra data points to effectively use your own heart rate as a controller for the model. So if the heart rate's faster, it'll change things on the model. If the heart rate's slower, it'll change things on the model. Turning your own bodily functions into elements that can then affect the model on stream is something that I've been very interested in for a while. Whether it's, of course, your basic recognition of facial expression, whether it's your heart rate, whether it's blood pressure, things like that, I think it's fun to add these things as subtle elements that can lift up a model. The problem is finding other people who are willing to properly dedicate into that kind of a concept, right? Because there's not a lot of people who, again, the vision is there, but there's few people who are willing unless you have major buko cash, as the kids say, right? You gotta have the big bucks. You gotta have that cash ready to go. And it turns out, even if you have that cash, it's really, really hard. Really, really, really hard. Yes, you can also do that as well. It's really hard to find a proper way that you can... How do I put this? It's hard to find a proper way that you can get these things done with people actually giving a fuck. Yeah, that's the best part. Because there's a lot of people who just want to make a model and they will run the fuck away. They will just unironically run the fuck away the first time there's any trouble at all. And that's really hard to work with, believe it or not. Fucking believe it or not, it's really, really hard to work with. Because a lot of these people, especially depending on country, you're going to find a lot of artists who just kind of, it's not that they don't get it, right? It's that they maliciously want to get a bunch of money with no responsibility, right? They love the idea of you giving them money. They hate the idea of them having to work. I know. Controversial hot take. Crazy. Absurd. But some people do just really desperately want that easy money. Actually, a lot of people. I would go so far as to say an unfortunate majority of people really just want to make endless money without any work. We had a recent case of that spiraling way out of proportion. Yes, it happens all the time. There's artists running away from gigs but still holding people's money. Yeah, no, that happened to me. I mean, I've talked about that on stream before, right? I had to have. So, there was a streamer who there was a company I was working with once upon a time, right? Hey, there ain't no rest for the wicked. It's true. I'm allergic to work! I understand completely! Hey, Brazil! Yeah. But there's, I was working with a company a while back, right? You know, it's no secret, I used to work with a company. And this company, we will just call it The Company. The company had me help pay for models for their company. Their little corporation, right? Because, yeah, that's fun, right? When your business tells you, hey, listen, we need you to help us, otherwise our entire project's going to fall apart. It's your fault if we fall apart. You need to give us money. Please, we're begging you. That's fun to deal with. So, I wound up helping out this company to get set up with some models for an entire generation of talents. And, I think that wound up being about $20,000. Yeah, about $20,000. Like $20,000 total, because we had the splits for the other talents. We had my model, we had a bunch of other models. And what happened with that stuff is we had artists who would just keep running away with the cash. And we were told that our legal department was looking into it to try and like sort this stuff out. And it turns out the legal department was basically working with some of the artists to try and like fleece some shit. There was a lot of fuckery on the back end that was going on. I got screwed out of my own model multiple times. A lot of the other talents wound up getting their models. A lot of the other talents actually wound up getting their models and then deciding to keep them. Even when the company fell apart before we could get premiered, and decided to instead debut as indies or go to other companies and take the models I had paid for that were under my contract and use those to start some fairly successful careers. I'm not going to name names there because I'm not a jackass. You know, it's true. I am surprisingly not a jackass. Believe it or not. So basically what happened with that stuff is I wound up being out about like $20,000 or so. Yeah, about like $20,000 in total. When I was talking about that originally, actually, the number kept going up because it was like things kept happening. I can't believe Pippa would do that. I hate Pippa! It was not Pippa. Can a Pippa borrow a fry? How a Pippa gonna borrow a fry? Is a Pippa gonna give it back? A Pippa gonna give it back? A Pippa gonna return that fry? Hmm? But yes, that whole situation was very, very fucked. And I learned very much firsthand how bad artists could be. It's kind of a rough situation in general, but you know, the biggest thing I think I learned from a lot of that was just the simple fact that there are a bunch of people who really, 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 really don't like work. Shit, they just fucking hate work. You kidding me? Alright, let me see here. Hold on. How do I attach this? I'm trying to build some gunpla while we're hanging out here. I should probably do like a cam or something, or like show you guys what I'm working on, but I've decided no. Don't feel like it. So instead I'm going to just talk about how I'm doing a thing, rather than actually doing a thing. Let's see. What do we have here? I wish it was easier to figure out what on earth was supposed to be going on with these pieces. There's a lot of like weird tubing pieces on here. I've got pieces like 1 through 5 of just tubing. And I don't know. Just don't cut your hands. Oh, this isn't the cutting things. Western artists? Yeah, no. I've mostly had issues with Western artists because there is a lacking work ethic with a lot of Western artists. I do notice that some of the artists who screw over the most people get medieval gauntlets, then stream making gunpla. Oh, I'd be so on board. I've noticed that a lot of artists who complain the absolute most about people who are commissioning them being fuckheads, or being terrible human beings, or screwing over the artists, are the exact same people who I hear very constantly. Let me just say, how do I put this politely? Oh, wait, I don't have to. I'm a jackass. They're bitching about this shit while they're screwing over their clients. Because the people who complain the loudest about how, oh, artists get screwed over all the time, oh, artists are always so hurting. If you do even the slightest amount of digging into these people, you'll find post after post after post after post about how these people just went out, found somebody who calmed them, and then they just refused to do any of the work that they got calmed for. I need to find part number 4. Is part number 4 still printing? It might be. And it's really, really funny because it keeps on happening. Now, that's not a really... Artist brain is not made for business as it happens. So what you're saying is artists should be handled by a corporation that's working over them and should be actively keeping them from doing stupid shit that ruins the business? Say it ain't so! Say it ain't so! Oh no! Yeah, no. Put Hungarian dance number 5 in the background music, please. I should probably actually put on some background music. Hold on. Let me put some, like, proper... We're hanging out, chatting. Game music on. Oh, fuck! I had a tabletop today! Fuck. I thought... Oh, that's right, we moved the tabletop. Oh, shit. Oh, shit, that's right, we moved it today. I'm gonna be late. Hold on. Wow, that is... Hold on. Just quietly raid. Slash raid. Damn, okay. I'm getting notified. Wait, hold on. Excuse me. There we go. Slash raid. JKVT. Just throw that real quick. Violently flee. Apologize to the audience because it's only been a 40-minute stream. Get ready to come back later so that I can run a different stream and I can cry. Boo! What have I done? Alright, everybody. Sorry. Very short stream. Very small stream. Very small, very short. Redirect. Redirect to people to Kiba. There you go. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Wait. Oh, shit. Hold on. Wait, I can actually raid Kiba-Woo? Hold on. Maybe? Hold on. That way I'm raiding everybody into the same person. Nope, she does not allow raids. Okay, that's fine. Alright, that's fine. That's cool, that's fine. Tiny raid into JK and Kiba. There we go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being amazing. Ah, I've ruined everything! Tabletop, go! I'm going off to play a Gundam tabletop. We're playing as people from... The guys from the Gundam that has Zaku's, but it's not Zaku. I forget which timeline that is. We're doing that. We're doing that one. Anyway.